I want to talk a bit about unrestricted eating in recovery. I saw a post on Instagram recently, and a person from the recovery community said that she doesn't feel like she's seen people portray recovery realistically, I guess. Like, she hasn't seen anyone in recovery on YouTube or whatever eating the way that she did to recover, or the way that she is now. And when I saw that post, I thought that's kind of been my experience too, because eating in recovery for me has felt really chaotic. I think that's a necessary part of recovery, but it's not always portrayed. But I want to talk about what my eating looked like, especially at the start of recovery, because when I began recovery, I was given a meal plan, 3 meals, 3 snacks a day, and I tried my best to follow that, but it didn't work. And I think there's a variety of reasons why it didn't work. Most of all, I really hated having a meal plan, because it felt like I had just gone from one set of rules and restrictions within anorexia to another set of rules prescribed by my treatment provider. And what I actually wanted was freedom to eat whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And anorexia and a meal plan, neither of them would give me that. So when I got a meal plan, I tried to stick to it, and I would eat 6 times a day, and I would measure my yogurt so that it was the right portion for a snack, and weigh my nuts, and it felt very disordered. And I think that is disordered. Like, normal people don't weigh their nuts. Or more to the point, I don't want to live my life weighing my nuts, so why would I do that when I start in recovery? And I understand the point of meal plans. They're sort of designed as a stepping stone so as not to overwhelm someone. But when I got my meal plan, I just thought, oh my gosh, like, is that all I can eat? Because that's not gonna fill me up. Like, that's not enough. And I can only, so I have to eat at these times per day, and then and if it doesn't fill me up, I just have to sit around waiting for the next meal. And it just, I could talk about meal plans for a long time, but I'm gonna move on from that and say that the meal plan didn't work for me. You know, if I kept going on a meal plan for a long time, I would slowly gain weight, and I guess I would feel a little less anxious around food, but it still is not the life that I want to live. And I knew that there was another option, and especially after reading Tabitha Farrar, I knew that there was another option that was absolutely terrifying, but that might push me further and faster towards full recovery. And a meal plan wasn't really getting me there. So I decided finally to go for this other option, which was to eat unrestricted, whatever I want, whenever I want, in whatever quantity. And I think, like, on social media at the moment, that's probably portrayed as all in. And I was really scared. I had so many thoughts. What if I end up binging? What if I lose control? What if I start eating and can't stop? What if I feel really guilty afterwards? And what if I gain a lot of weight? So because I had all these thoughts and all these reasons from my eating disorder not to eat in this new way, that's exactly why I needed to do it. It's the whole thing of opposite action. If your eating disorder tells you not to do something, then you should do it. So I stopped following my meal plan. I stopped eating 6 times per day. I stopped challenging a fair food once a week or once every couple of days, as my treatment team had suggested. I stopped measuring out my nuts, actually embarked on real recovery. What that looked like was eating basically all the time, at least every hour, at least, usually more. So whenever I thought about food, I would eat. It wasn't pretty. I would feel really bloated to the point that I wouldn't even be able to stand up comfortably. I would feel, really awful. I wouldn't want to socialize because I could barely do anything because I was so full from food. I'd start the morning and I'd still have the eating disorder thoughts, like just have a little bowl of porridge, and my recovery has not been perfect, and sometimes I would listen to that thought and I would make a little bowl of porridge, but then I'd realize, well, hold on, I'm still really hungry, and if the plan is to eat unrestricted, then I have to eat more. So then I would also eat cereal, toast, big spoonfuls of peanut butter, whatever came to mind, I would eat it. It's sort of ironic, I guess, because all of the fears that I had from my eating disorder about feeling out of control, feeling guilty, gaining weight, those came true. I did feel incredibly guilty. I would not know what to do with myself except just cry because I had all these thoughts and I felt so horrible. I knew I had to keep going, and I did gain weight, and sometimes I did feel out of control, especially at nighttime. I would feel really hungry, not so much physically but mentally, and I would eat a lot. I was really worried because I thought, oh my gosh, am I developing binge eating disorder? Like, I would Google and look up signs that you have binge eating disorder. If you eat and you feel guilt or you feel shame afterwards or you felt out of control, and I was like, tick, 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 but I didn't. And that's just what your body does when you're recovering from the effects of starvation. It needs a lot of food. I deprived my body of food for months, and now it was starting to realize that food was available, so it was gonna make me eat in case there was another period of restriction, another famine. My brain didn't know that I had been purposefully restricting my intake. All my brain knew was that there had been this severe unavailability of food, and my body had really struggled to keep me going and keep me alive, and now food was here. Of course, my body was telling me to eat all the food. And I think it takes a really long time for your body to learn that food is readily available. I had lots of periods like that of extreme hunger, and those periods have become less frequent as I've gained weight and continued eating. Now sometimes they still happen, and there are other reasons for that I don't think I have time to get into in this video, but recovery binges like that, or feast eating as Tabitha Farrar calls it and I prefer, is completely normal and optimal for recovery, for your body to recover and for you to learn that you can eat a lot of food and nothing bad is going to happen. Recovery isn't glamorous, and it can seem that way, like, you know, pictures of a plate of fries or whatever, and oh, look at what I can eat now. But the reality is really, really hard, and I would go to sleep feeling so full that it would be difficult to fall asleep, only to wake up in the middle of the night feeling hungry and eat more again. And I'd go to sleep having these thoughts like, oh, you've eaten so much today, you better eat less tomorrow. And I would collude with my eating disorder and plan out what I could eat the next day that would be smaller. And then I'd wake up the following day and eat just as I had the day before, because I knew that I wanted full recovery, and I had to ignore those eating disorder niggles. This way of eating unrestricted, eating essentially without a meal plan felt really shambolic. It certainly didn't look pretty, but it was one of the best moves I ever made in my recovery, because my meal plan, despite having good intentions, was still rigid. It was still tightly controlled. Essentially, it still felt like I was trapped in my eating disorder because my meal plan still was not enough for me, and it still meant that I was restricting my intake. And you can't recover from a restrictive eating disorder if you're still restricting. It's not possible. So after years of following the rules of my anorexia, of the guidelines dictated by my meal plan, I let that all go and ate totally unrestricted, and finally started to experience the freedom with food that I craved. Feeling like you see people on YouTube or on Instagram eating these meals and you think, why isn't my eating like this? Why can't I eat 3 meals and 3 snacks a day and be satisfied? I know what that feels like, and I'm here to tell you that if your eating doesn't look like that, that's okay, and probably quite a good thing, because my eating definitely did not look like that at the start of my recovery, and still now I don't think it looks like that. I eat more than 6 times a day. That's one of the main things that's enabled me to get to a pretty good place in my recovery. So don't feel ashamed if your eating feels chaotic. That's what real recovery feels like. Okay, I'm gonna sign out now because I have to go to the airport to pick up my parents. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it reassured you, maybe. Yeah, I hope you're doing well, and I love receiving messages from you in comments, so let me know what you think, and I'll record again soon. Okay, bye!